Welcome to the Youth Count Survey training. Today's training will be conducted by myself, Monica Santander, Data and Research Analyst,
and Lauren Kinney, Senior Analyst in the Data and Research team at WASA.
Today's training will cover an overview of the youth count, best practices for approaching and engaging when surveying, the materials that will be needed when you're out in the field, and finally, we will be reviewing the survey instrument questions.
The youth count is part of the largest homeless count in the country. It helps provide an estimate of how many unaccompanied minors and transition-age youth are experiencing homelessness on any given night throughout the Los Angeles continuum of care, which includes all of Los Angeles County with the exception of Glendale, Pasadena, and Long Beach. The component of the youth count survey that you will be assisting with is the unsheltered count, which includes unsheltered young homeless persons under the age of 25 experiencing homelessness. This includes unaccompanied minors, transition-age youth, and young families. Data on sheltered young persons under the age of 25 are collected through a separate effort. As a result, we are not surveying those in housing, emergency shelters, transitional housing, safe havens, or those using vouchers. Unsheltered youth tend to be found in larger groups and may not be as easily identified as homeless adults, so your role in this effort is crucial. For a person to be considered experiencing unsheltered homelessness, they have to meet the following HUD-required definition. An individual or family with a primary nighttime residence that is a public or private place not designed for or ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation for human beings, including a car, park, abandoned building, bus or train station, airport, or camping ground. There are three primary roles within each youth count street survey team. Youth navigators are young persons that have previously experienced or are currently experiencing homelessness. They are recruited by youth provider agencies. Their role is to assist the team in identifying where youth experiencing homelessness may be, identifying young persons that may be experiencing homelessness, and approaching and engaging with young persons who may be experiencing homelessness. From there, they pass off surveying to trained surveyors, which are a combination of hired surveyors from USC, volunteers from youth provider agencies, and volunteer staff from youth provider agencies. There may be other volunteers accompanying survey teams to assist with any logistics as needed.
Youth navigators are the primary designated expert to identify key regions and identify potential participants. But in the case of their absence, it is important to be familiar with these methods. Key spots include beaches, washes, skate parks, regular parks, and libraries, to name a few. Other places to pay special attention to include alleys, metro stops, bus stops, and 24-hour businesses such as donut shops. In the absence of a youth navigator, these are some tips for identifying youth that may be experiencing homelessness. If you see someone at a bus stop, but they don't get on a bus, people charging their phones outside, overly full backpacks, carrying multiple backpacks, and wearing several layers of clothes. Useful strategies for engagement include avoiding placing your clipboard in front of you when first interacting with the youth, making good eye contact, smiling, and treating it more like a conversation than a formal interview. A good opening statement could be, "Hi, I'm from LASA, and we were wondering if you knew where we could find homeless youth in the area. We are surveying young persons experiencing homelessness so that we can better understand the size and scope of youth homelessness and help end it. Those that are eligible to participate get a $10 food card." Additional tips for engagement include using reflective listening to determine why they are hesitant. For example, "I hear you saying," or "it sounds like." What you're hoping to do is mirror their response. You can also share a little about yourself. For example, "I'm out here because." Provide a narrative or story about yourself. Remind them that their answers are completely private and confidential and will not get them in trouble. To keep in mind are how to manage privacy in group settings, when to stop insisting on survey participation, and to be aware of your own safety. If the potential participant is in a group or with a partner or friend, it may be helpful to initially request or offer that the survey be taken in a more private and safe location. Make it seem like a standard protocol. This can avoid any threats or awkwardness around sensitive questions, especially when it relates to domestic violence. It'll also encourage greater participation in some questions if privacy is ensured. An example of friendly persistence could be, if you can handle putting up with me for a while, there is a gift card that you get for completing the survey. We'll try and make this as quick as possible. The information you provide is really important. If the person still refuses or starts showing annoyance or anger, do not insist. Thank them for their time and move on to the next participant. Trust your judgment. If you feel uncomfortable, get yourself and your team out of the situation. If you feel unsafe with the respondent, thank them and tell them their survey is complete. Signal your partner for support if needed. If you feel you are in danger, call 911. Be prepared to experience different levels of rejection, including aggressive language or dismissiveness. Some people don't like being surveyed, and some are just fatigued from being surveyed by different people. There are a myriad of reasons, and it is important to not take it personally. Once the person refuses to participate, you will fill out the staff-only section and move on to the next participant. Some other logistical things to keep in mind when out in the community. Treat people and their possessions with respect. The places you are surveying could be their home. Stay within eyesight of your teammates. If a respondent is upset about being ineligible for the survey and the situation becomes hostile, simply give them the gift card. Don't take pictures of people or the places they are sleeping in. Don't chase a person if your survey device is taken. Don't give people money or extra incentives. Instead, give them resource cards or resource sheets.
Part 3, Survey Materials. So before we talk about how to conduct surveys, let's go over some of the materials you are going to have with you on the day of your shift. The survey instrument, including a mobile device or tablet, as well as paper surveys for backup. Response card, census tract map, communities list, clipboard, black ink pen, food gift cards, including $10 for individuals, as well as extra $5 cards for families, a gift card receipt log, and outreach resources. And we will go into more detail about these materials throughout Part 3. The survey instrument comes in two forms, paper and electronic. The electronic form will be conducted on a mobile device and will be the main method of conducting the survey. Having a few paper surveys as backup is important in the case of malfunctioning or power downs on mobile devices. If you end up filling out any paper surveys, a data validator at each deployment site will manually enter the responses. Prior to entering the field, make sure your device is fully charged and that the survey is downloaded and opens properly. Unlike the paper survey, the electronic survey has skip patterns embedded within the survey. However, you do need to use the paper response card with both the paper survey and the electronic survey. We will go into more detail regarding the response card later on. At the end of the survey, you will be redirected to a staff-only section that will need to be submitted, and from there you will proceed to debrief the participant and ensure they receive their food card for completing the survey. Following the prompts in the paper survey is important. Skip patterns that are automated in the electronic survey are included in writing, so paying careful attention is critical. Bold means you should say it. Italics means you shouldn't say it, but you should read it. These are directions for you. Red indicates the next question to proceed to based on a previous answer. You should also not say these instructions. Single or forced choice response have a circular bubble. Multiple choice responses have square boxes. Very important, do not say declined, don't know, or safety concern for any of the listed question responses. A response card is used in all forms of the survey instrument for the purposes of confidentiality and privacy. Use your response card if the question indicates to do so. Ask the question and then follow the instructions to demonstrate the response card to the respondent. Respondents can read the card and respond with a number rather than saying directly that they have a health condition, have experienced domestic or intimate partner violence, or have experienced labor trafficking. In Part 4, we will tell you which questions require the response card. Respondents will be asked to tell you where they used to live in Los Angeles County when they last had stable housing. A list of every city or community within LA County will help you fill out the response. You will be surveying within the boundaries of a provided census tract. Your team lead may ask you to return a second time if there was no one present. There will be some census tracts where you don't find youth to survey, and that's okay. We need to know that information too, so even if you don't get any surveys in a census tract, don't be discouraged. It's still helpful. Remember to only conduct surveys inside the blue lines. If the border is along a street, only survey on the side of the street inside your census tract border. Record the last 4 digits of the gift card serial number. Fill in the initials of the respondent. You might want to do this when you get their initials during the survey if you can't remember. Include the date. Sign the line with initials for each card given out. Don't forget your interviewer ID and the SPA. Ask your team lead if you have more questions.
Part 4. Let's take a look at the survey instrument. It is going to be your most important tool. This is the list of questions you are going to ask respondents. There are 4 main parts of the survey, which we will go over in more detail. Ideally, you will fill out the pre-survey before approaching a potential participant. If there are potential participants waiting in line to be surveyed, you should keep your tablet answers out of view and ask if they could give you a moment as you set up the survey. Fill out your initials. Use the same initials every time. This is how we track your number of complete surveys later. Next, you will be asked to guess some perceived characteristics of the participant. If you're around larger groups or have people waiting for you to survey them, it is especially important to not let them see your answers in this section, as you may cause offense. You will be asked whether you approach the participant. Select Yes, proceed with survey if they say yes. Select Refuse to take survey if you are immediately refused without getting to read the confidentiality agreement. Select No, unapproached if you saw someone you perceived as homeless but who you were not able to survey in your census tract for any reason. The confidentiality statement is the first part of the survey that involves interacting with the participant. Read the whole statement. Select Yes and continue with the survey if they respond affirmatively.
Next are screening questions. Based on these questions, we determine if the respondent is eligible. This question tells us if the participant is unsheltered. To determine eligibility, we ask where the participant spent most of their nights in the past 30 days. Then we ask where they stayed last night. Finally, we ask what city or community they slept in. Use your communities list sheet. At this point, eligibility is determined. You will be prompted with an eligibility dialog, which will let you know to continue or to end the survey. We have now begun the survey questions. Follow the prompts and ask these 3 questions on gender identity, transgender identity, and sexual orientation. The next 2 questions are ethnicity and race. If the participant responds Hispanic or Latino to the race question, select some other race and enter the code HL in the dialog box. Next, we have questions about military service. For discharge status, select Unverified if the response the participant provides is not on the list. Next, ask these questions about the first time the participant has been homeless and how long they have been homeless this time. If this is not the first time, we will ask how old they were when they were first homeless. We ask the next 4 questions to understand whether they've been chronically homeless. The number of separate episodes of homelessness in the past year and in the past 3 years. Then, we want to know if they were homeless for a year or more in total in the past 3 years.
The next question is about living in a vehicle or encampment. Follow the directions closely. You may have to ask follow-up questions. A family must have 1 person under 18. Only complete 1 survey per family. For couples ages 18 to 24 or siblings under the age of 18, complete 1 survey per individual. Follow the prompts very carefully. If there is at least 1 child under 18, you will see the question about family initials. These initials help you ask questions for family members. Questions related to family members will include similar demographics to the ones we ask the participant.
Some survey questions are especially sensitive and personal. These include a question on health conditions, 3 questions on domestic violence and sex trafficking, and response cards help protect respondents' confidentiality. Remind them that they can skip these questions if they appear uncomfortable. These are health condition questions asked for both the individual responding to the survey and for their family members. Follow the instructions to use the response card. This is the response card. Show the respondent the options. Ask them to tell you the number that corresponds with their response. For example, 9 for traumatic brain injury. Record the response. These are the domestic violence questions. It may be unsafe to ask these questions. If a potential abuser is present, or someone who is directing the respondent on how to answer those questions or other questions, you can skip these questions entirely by selecting Safety Concern. Use the response card only when it is safe to do so. These are the labor trafficking questions asked of individuals. These questions are very sensitive and personal. If you think it's unsafe to ask these questions, mark Safety Concern and move on to the next question. Again, these are the response card questions for domestic violence and labor trafficking. When using the response card, show the respondent the options, ask them to tell you the number that corresponds with their response, and record the response.
The next questions are about mental health treatment and systems involvement. Follow the prompts. An additional question regarding the child welfare system comes next, followed by education. For this question, a common response for the highest degree attained is other vocational certificate. In this case, please enter VC for short.
Now we want to know where the participant last had housing and if they have ever lived somewhere outside of Los Angeles County. If they have lived somewhere else, we want to know when they last moved back to Los Angeles. If they have lived outside of Los Angeles, we want to know where that was. For people from Los Angeles County, we want to know what city or community they are from. Use your communities list. Next, we want the participant to give us reasons why they think they lost housing. This question requires you to listen, wait for a response, and choose what applies. Try to balance your time so that the respondent can answer. You may, however, want to find a strategy to move to the next question. Now we want to know about the participant's employment situation. If the respondent is unsure, you may need to interpret the response. Note that self-employed can include different odd jobs and ways of making money that don't involve direct employment. Seasonal work can include anything that is particular to a certain time of year. Temporary work can include internships, contracted positions, and work assigned by employment agencies. Not working can mean student, disabled, looking for work, not looking for work, or retired. Ask for clarification. Lastly, we ask if the participant receives any government assistance. Follow the prompts accordingly.
Before ending the survey and handing the participant their food card, make sure to debrief with them. You could say, "Thank you for taking the time to help us understand and help end youth homelessness. We covered a lot of territory today. How do you feel about it?" Then proceed to the staff-owned section and make sure to provide the participant their food gift card. If the survey was cut short at the beginning due to ineligibility, select sheltered, housed, or cannot confirm eligibility. If your participant was eligible and you made it through the whole survey, select complete. If the participant couldn't complete the survey, select partial. Select not approached only if you were unable to approach a potential participant. For refusal, select refusal. And don't forget the food gift card. In conclusion, make sure respondents understand you and that you are comfortable with the phrasing of various questions prior to being in the field. Remember to maintain professional boundaries and reserve any judgment on a participant's responses or comments.
Thank you very much, and happy surveying.